Hi there and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy. Today I am offering up a little bit of a quickie. This practice will have some slow, subtle movements, some yin, a little bit of breath work, and of course, a nice, long, yummy shavasana to seal in the practice. So the invitation here is to grab your props if you'd like any. I have a bolster here. I have some blocks or some eggs. I have my yoga mat. You can always substitute any of these things for whatever you might have so that you feel supported and held while you're here. So there's no particular plan. I'm just kind of going with what my body's asking for. I'm looking for a little bit more movement today, so I may invite in some more of a vinyasa style to the mix, and we'll likely take that down into more of a yin energy towards the end. Okay? So let's go ahead and begin our practice on our hands and knees. We call tabletop pose. It's always good to line up your joints as best as you can to stack the bones. So here you can see that I have my knees under my hips and my wrists under my shoulders. You'll notice too that when you stack the bones like this, it actually takes less effort. Less muscles need to be used. So once you're here, just take a moment to pause in your stillness. Feel the earth beneath your palms, beneath your shins, and simply ground into that energy. Start to feel the muscles that are engaging and firing up a little bit. Begin finding your breath. And as you take your next inhale, perhaps you tuck the toes. You lift the chin, lift the tailbone, drawing that belly down. Opening up through the throat. As you exhale, untuck the feet, tuck the chin, round the back. And again, inhale for cow pose. And exhale for cat. One more time, inhale. Warming up the spine. Exhale. Coming back to that neutral space. Begin to swirl the body around in some circular motions. Dancing your lion. Tuning into the spaces that are waking up, becoming a little more alive. You can go in both directions. I always like to encourage the rhythm of your breathing to merge with the movements that you might be doing. So allowing everything to kind of blend together in a natural pace. A lot of times in yoga, there's questions about when to inhale and when to exhale, which part of the pose, which part of the movement. And for me, Whenever I'm in a lifting or an engaging part, that's typically when I inhale. And when I'm lowering or I'm disengaging, that's when I would exhale. But you can find your own rhythm here that feels good for you. You might hear my belly growling a little bit. I always tend to do these videos when I get the house to myself, and it's kind of a quick decision sometimes, and I have not had breakfast yet. So if you hear the thunder roaring, that's what it is. Okay. And from here, coming back to tabletop, I'm actually going to take my arms a little forward and lower myself all the way down. Coming into a cobra pose and holding for a couple of breaths. And pressing into the palms, pushing up, sitting my hips back for child's pose or balasana. So hips all the way back to the heels. Arms are going to stay forward for me. Forehead drops either down to the mat or to the side. And taking a few breaths here. If you have your head to the side, go ahead and switch sides for a couple more breaths. And as you inhale, rising back up to that tabletop, going to draw the left leg forward into a lunge. And we'll pause here. I have lifted up to my fingertips. You may do that. You may use your blocks. If you want to be even higher, you may even lower down to the palms. It just depends on your body shape and length of your limbs. So this is where we get to play with our own experience and work with the body that we've been given. That's why I like to give all the options, because not everybody's going to have the same experience. And I don't really like to call them limitations as much as we are just different. We're all unique. And we work with what we have. Take one more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, begin to shift the weight in the hips back, straightening out that front leg, pulling my hands back a little and folding over that left side. Now you can see I just lifted my back and lengthened my spine. The first part of that, I was in a little bit more of a yin energy, a little more folding in and passive, and then opening up and engaging to see what that feels like. One more breath. And as I exhale, coming forward back to that lunge, and this time raising the arms all the way up for low crescent. So aiming those fingertips toward the sky, almost like there's a string attached to the fingertips, pulling you upward as you also drop down and ground into the earth. Take a breath in, breach. As you exhale, palms come down, ground in, take that left leg back, child's pose. Inhale back up to table. And this time right foot comes forward. Finding that lunge right here, taking a pause. Fine-tuning however you see fit for your body. And allowing the muscles to drop in, release, open. Notice the parts of your body that are contracting. Notice the parts that are expanding. Notice the breath. And take one more nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, once again coming back and opening up the back of that right leg and folding. Whether you round the back or keep it more active is up to you. I found the active position to be more what I'm looking for today. Honor yourself where you're at. Asking your body what it needs. I'm simply here to guide you through a practice, and then it's your responsibility to take what you need, leave the rest, and do what's best for your body and your day. As we breathe in, we lift, we come forward, we breathe out, we allow the hips to sink, and as we inhale again, arms lift, low crescent lunge. So I'm drawing my shoulders back and down as the arms and hands reach out and lift, sinking into that hip space, grounding down, rooting to rise is the term you might hear often. Inhale, reach. Exhale, drop the hands down, right foot back, and child's pose. Now lifting the head on an inhale, I'm going to lift my hips up, come back to that tabletop. My knees were already sort of together, but if yours were wider apart, go ahead and bring them closer. Tuck the toes into the earth and begin to put some weight into the heels. Now you can keep the hands grounded, or you can come all the way up like I am here. Opening up the bottoms of the feet, breaking through some of that fascia. This can burn a little bit. This is where we get to find the breath. We get to see what's going on in this area. If you wear closed-toed shoes quite a bit, this is excellent for you to break that tissue up. So we rewire the body a lot of times from our habitual movements, we try new things, and it opens up new space in the body. And sometimes moving into that unfamiliar territory, we create deeper sensations and more intensity, right? And we can often steer away from that uncomfort, thinking that something's perhaps wrong or it's just too much. So this practice really allows you to lean into those spaces with curiosity and to explore what that sensation is before we label it, you know. I like to share sometimes that, we have different perspectives around words. So when you hear the word pain or intensity, where does the mind go? And can you soften that, depending on the energy that you feel around that word? Can you just be curious with it? One more breath here. And then slowly come out of that. We can wiggle the toes around, move the feet, the ankles, and just let that release. And then I'm going to come right into Malasana, which is a yogi squat. So bringing the feet to the earth. I have mine a little wider than my hips. And again, you can stay with the hands grounded. If you need something underneath your bottom to sit on, you can do that as well. If you're comfortable releasing the hands, pushing the elbows, the backs of the arms into the knees if that's available, maybe taking your hands together in prayer pose, and then pressing into the legs to lift up and out. Now with my feet being a little closer together, my heels are actually floating just a little bit. You can widen the feet. You can angle the feet if you want the heels to come down. This is all playing with your balance and your center of gravity. So that being said, I'll show you what it looks like for me if I take my feet a little wider. I can actually bring my heels all the way down. But now my center of gravity has changed. So it's about where you want to be. Sometimes we feel more challenged in poses. Sometimes we feel more at ease. Take one more breath. And as we exhale, come all the way down to a seat. Extending the legs out in front for caterpillar. Taking a deep breath in. Exhale and fold. You can bend the knees if you would like to or need to in order to get the feet or the toes in your grasp. And start to feel that length through the hamstrings. Again, you can be a little more engaged or a little more passive depending on what you're looking for. Since I wanted a little more movement today, I'm using the engagement for now. Staying a little more active, a little more yang. And the breath is what we do our best to keep consistent through our practice. We always come back to the breath. That for me is one of the more important pieces of this practice. Once we lose the breath, or we lose sight of the breath and it becomes a little bit unconscious, we tend to get into the head a little bit more. So being in the breath, it keeps you in your body. Keeps you a little more present. And release yourself from that when you're ready. Coming all the way down to the back. Hugging the knees into the chest. And again, a little more movement, rolling around, massaging out the glutes, the hips, the back. Just seeing how that feels. And hugging in the left knee, extending the right leg long. And just moving that left side around in some circles. Opening up through that hip space. And then taking this left knee across the body to the right, spinal twist, extending that left arm out. Maybe even taking the gaze to the left. Feeling that spine unraveling, creating space between the vertebra, creating space across the décolleté and through that arm and heart space, and even feeling that expansion around the hip. As you take a breath in, come on back to center, taking both knees into the chest one more time, perhaps moving it around. And we take these sweet spaces between the poses, the transition spaces, to just feel what the pose we just did gave us. Like seeing what the results are from that longer hold, from that opening up. You can often feel upon the release that fresh blast of blood that gets to move through where you opened up space. It's almost like a rush. You can feel the heat. At least I can. That's my best way of describing it at this moment. You might feel something different. And hugging in that right knee, extending the left leg long. Taking some circles first with that right side. It's almost like you're communicating with the side first, that you're here, that it's safe, before you move into the deeper hold. And then when you're ready, right knee across to the left, extend that right arm out. Maybe the gaze goes to the right. And allowing yourself to drop right in. And allowing everything to kind of ring out for about 5 or 6 breaths. And coming back through center, nice and slow. Take both knees in one more time, roll around. Okay, and then letting the feet drop down to the earth, rooting the feet in. Conscious resting pose. I'm rolling my palms open, taking a little space between my arms and my body, letting the lower back and the sacrum area settle into the ground beneath me. And even allowing for the lower belly to drop down toward the spine, creating somewhat of a bowl shape in that lower portion. So if you picture from the belly button to the left hip to the pubic bone to the right hip, that whole area, if you make a circle, and you think of it as a bowl shape, and you allow the center of that bowl to sink down. See what that feels like. See what it feels like physically, and also just see what it's like to visualize that. Deep breath in and out. And one more time, just like that, in through the nose. And a sigh out the mouth. And one more. Go ahead and drop into some stillness for a few moments. And now using either your blocks or your bolster or pillow or whatever you have. Supported bridge, so we lift the hips up. So pressing into the heels and lifting the hips, we slide the prop of choice underneath the body so that it comes to the sacrum, so that when we drop down on top, we feel fully supported. So we're not hanging too far off the edge on either end, right? So you might have to play with that a little bit. You can also play with the height. I have one block under right now. Going to lift and add another one. This is a personal preference, of course, whatever feels safe and appropriate for your body. And then allowing yourself to come down so that you can fully relax into the shape, allowing the effort to disappear and allow the blocks to hold you. Now I'm going to share this because this is what I'm experiencing. Having both of these underneath I can feel a lot of pressure in my head today. So I'm going to take one back out, coming down to the lower one, seeing what that feels like instead. And again, I can still feel a little more pressure in my head than I prefer. So I'm going to take both of those back out and come back down to that conscious rest. Much better. See, so by honoring what you're experiencing, we're given the instruction and the guidance toward a posture, but you need to really tap into what you're feeling in the moment. And for whatever reason, my body does not want to be in that bridge. So I'm releasing myself from that pressure and allowing myself to modify. So wherever you are, continue to stay there. See how it feels. Breathe for about 3 more breaths. Take what you need. Now, if you still have props underneath, go ahead and take those out until you get to the point where I am, which is conscious rest with the hips all the way back down to the floor. And then we'll slowly extend our body out nice and long, coming into that final rest, Shavasana, where we get to be in full surrender. And we release all the muscle action, giving the breath full permission to be in its natural state. Bringing your awareness back to the breathing with a little more intention. And slowly bending into the knees, rooting the feet. And of course, taking your time. You might hug in the knees, you might roll to one side. Taking a moment to notice how you feel. And however you choose to rise up from your mat, when you choose to rise up from your mat. And taking a moment to honor yourself, your practice. Whether your day is just beginning or your day is simply coming to a close and you're getting ready for rest. It's been an honor to share this with you. Namaste.